Sup, fuckboy? Welcome to Foxhole. With Helldivers 2 making jolly cooperation and patriotism soar at an all-time high, I want to enlighten you on a game that takes the call to action on a global scale, and a game that has a wide, versatile community and plenty to do for everyone. Foxhole, developed by Siege Camp, is an online MMO that has you coordinate with thousands of players in a persistent war that can drag on for weeks or months of real time. Yes, you heard me right. An online war that goes on for months that changes due to the actions of the players and no one else. Every bullet fired, every artillery shell launched, every piece of equipment, be it rifle, radio, or even building materials, is all made by players. Intrigued? Let's dive in. To begin playing, you start by picking a faction. Both are functionally similar with minor differences in appearance. Wardens versus Colonials, as it has been from the beginning. While there is an excerpt in the beginning, a lot of the motivations of the factions are kept vague, and the story is really just a side note here. Your ultimate goal is to defeat the enemy faction by capturing their territory and pushing them back to the brink, though this goal will not happen overnight and will take weeks at a time to accomplish. The game itself is a top-down isometric shooter that has a fog of war and proximity voice chat mechanic. Yes, you can also hear other players as well from the enemy faction. Once you pick a faction, you'll be teleported to your home island, and it also serves as your tutorial to many of the mechanics of the game, though the in-depth explanation is best given by players who have had time and experience with it. From here you can see the state of the war, change your character, though it's only cosmetic, and deploy. There are several roles you can take in the world of Foxhole, and the developers account for many of these. You can deploy to the front line as a rifleman and join the others in the front, a front that can either shift drastically or be back and forth as it has been for a bit. Serve as a medic that patches soldiers up, brings them back, join a boat crew and wreak havoc on defenses and logistics, be an engineer to help maintain the bases and defenses, become a marine and land on beaches, or an officer on a battleship. Many of these roles are interchangeable, and there are clans and groups who specialize in many of these. There is a functioning rank system in the game that allows you to level up and even tracks your overall character. You'll be promoted through commendations from other players, which means you've done something useful to provide to the war effort as a whole, though admittedly I have seen players farm commends through logistic drop-offs. You can commend individual players at any time, but it's meant for players who help out as a whole. I've been commended by risking my neck to rescue someone and bring them back to a medic. You have a full functioning map that updates with intelligence of ally and enemy positions and all your support networks in the back lines. You can also add nodes to a map to inform your team's global network, let them know what's going on without telling someone directly. Additionally, you'll have a faction technology tree that slowly progresses throughout the war. You'll start out with half-tracks and gun cars and ending with heavy tanks and destroyers. Though there are two sides, one where you participate in the war directly or indirectly. Sure, you could serve on the front lines in combat, though in order for the front line to function, you need a logistic supply network to support it. In the back lines, there are hundreds of players who dedicate themselves to building everything the front line needs to fight effectively. This includes the respawns as well. Soldier supplies, or shirts as everyone refers to them, are your respawns that are limited, meaning without a proper supply network, a front line will eventually collapse with bodies and death. A lot of you boys are harvesting the raw materials, converting them into bullets, grenades, supplies, and everything basically. There is a large learning curve to this game, and there can be times where nothing happens for hours on end aside from your grind to build supplies. I spent over an hour loading shells into a battleship on the rear lines, prepping it for the next outing it would take. Even if you aren't one for combat, there is always a need for logistics and backline support. For the front line, that's where the meat of the game lies. With the lines constantly shifting, you coordinate with your fellow players to push the enemy back and take positions. I spent a few days in different battlefields, and bridges are still unfortunately not fixed. You can spend weeks on a single bridge duking it out unless a single side has a breakthrough. The front line itself is exactly how you would imagine. Digging trenches going from foxhole to foxhole, grenade spam, tank battles, bayonet charges, and even the PTSD of artillery barrages that are just as terrifying as they are in real life. There is even a day and night cycle that can skew your vision and prevent you from seeing your enemy, but the same applies to them as well. As for music, there hardly is any. Aside from the menu music and deployment music, there isn't much of it. So I'd get accustomed to the sound of silence or hearing people play stuff through the voice chat. Aside from the gameplay, the bread and butter of this game is the community. You have groups of hundreds of players, Discord servers, communication, and a fictional war fought and supplied by players alone. The devs just supply the server and the world they fight in. I've managed to meet with random people and coordinate partisan activities just through voice chat. Naval vessels require clan level input and requirements. Though this community is some of the most open I've seen in a long while, with many people being inviting and friendly, especially towards new players. Though there are a minority of toxic players as well, usually just random people I happen to meet. If you're joining this game for the first time, it's best to get involved with a noob-friendly group that helps you learn the ropes pretty quickly. Once you get into it, it's hard to break out. There's honestly too much to cover in just a single review. There are aspects I haven't even touched, and I have over 80 hours in this game. I'd highly recommend checking it out if you get the chance. It's one of those you won't be disappointed in and can draw you in for hours or even days at a time. That's all for now. Until then, have a good one, lads. Thanks for watching.